Imagine two sisters, both in their early 60s, both trying to eat well, following the same advice they'd read in the same wellness magazine. Every morning they made the same green juice, kale, alfalfa sprouts, a squeeze of lemon. Within 3 months, one of them felt more energetic and noticed her digestion had improved. The other one had elevated liver enzymes showing up in her blood work, persistent fatigue that no amount of rest seemed to fix, and a mild but constant ache just beneath her right rib cage that her doctor couldn't initially explain. Same kitchen, same glass, completely different outcomes, and the reason it happens comes down to something most people never think about. I'm Dr. Sarah Vance, the liver health and metabolic medicine consultant, and if you're managing fatty liver disease, elevated liver enzymes, or simply concerned about how your diet is affecting your metabolic health as you get older, you are exactly where you need to be. Today, we're going to walk through three vegetables that research consistently shows can ease the burden on a struggling liver and actively support its ability to regenerate and filter. And we're going to look very carefully at three vegetables that, despite their glowing reputations in the wellness world, can quietly accelerate liver damage in people who are already vulnerable. One of the vegetables on our protective list is something most people have written off entirely, and that misunderstanding may be costing them. Stay with me. To understand why certain vegetables become dangerous once liver function is compromised, we first need to appreciate what this organ actually does, because most people have no idea how extraordinary it is or how quietly it fails. Your liver is the body's primary chemical processing plant. Every single thing you eat or drink passes through it. It filters toxins from the blood, converts nutrients into usable forms, produces bile for fat digestion, regulates blood sugar, and manages the breakdown of hormones, medications, and metabolic waste. A healthy liver performs over 500 distinct functions, most of them simultaneously every hour of every day. When the liver is damaged, as happens in non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which now affects roughly 1 in 4 adults worldwide, its filtration and processing capacity becomes compromised. Fat accumulates inside liver cells, inflammation follows, scar tissue begins to replace healthy tissue, and the organ that was once a highly efficient chemical factory starts to operate more like a factory with half its machinery shut down. What gets processed slowly, what gets stored incorrectly, and certain compounds that a healthy liver would neutralize and excrete begin to accumulate instead. Two mechanisms in particular are critical to understand. The first hidden danger, fructose overload. In a healthy person, the liver processes fructose, the natural sugar found in many vegetables and fruits, efficiently and without issue. Small amounts are converted to energy or glycogen. But when the liver is already inflamed and carrying excess fat, its capacity to metabolize fructose is dramatically reduced. Instead of converting it cleanly, the liver shunts fructose into fat production. Each additional fructose load is like adding fuel to a fire that is already burning out of control. The liver doesn't just slow down, it accelerates its own damage. Think of it like a waste processing facility that's already operating at maximum capacity. When more waste arrives, it doesn't disappear. It stacks up in the yard, creating conditions for everything around it to deteriorate faster. The second hidden danger, hepatotoxic compound accumulation. Several plant foods contain naturally occurring compounds, including certain alkaloids, isothiocyanates in excessive quantities, and specific phytoestrogens that a healthy liver processes and neutralizes without difficulty. The liver's detoxification pathway, known as phase 2 conjugation, packages these compounds and escorts them out of the body. But when those detoxification pathways are already impaired, as they are in a liver dealing with active inflammation or early fibrosis, these compounds linger. They circulate, they re enter liver tissue, and instead of passing harmlessly through, they begin to contribute to the oxidative stress and cell damage already underway. It is the difference between throwing a small stone into a clear river and throwing that same stone into an already turbulent, debris-filled current. With that foundation in place, let's talk about what to eat. Garlic, the sulfur-powered repair crew. Most people think of garlic as a seasoning, something that adds flavor to a dish rather than something that actively protects an organ. That underestimation is worth correcting. Garlic contains a compound called allicin, which forms when a clove is crushed or chopped and the enzyme alliinase is activated. Allicin and its derivative compounds, particularly S-allylcysteine and S-allyl mercaptocystine, have been shown in clinical research to directly reduce fat accumulation inside liver cells, lower markers of liver inflammation, including ALT and AST enzymes, and activate a powerful antioxidant pathway called NRF2, which essentially tells the liver's own cellular defense systems to switch on. This is not a passive nutrient that the liver happens to use. It is an active biological signal that instructs damaged liver tissue to begin repairing itself. The secondary benefit is less obvious but equally meaningful. Garlic has a measurable effect on the gut microbiome, selectively feeding beneficial bacterial strains that produce short-chain fatty acids. These fatty acids travel directly to the liver via the portal vein and reduce intestinal permeability, meaning fewer toxins and bacterial endotoxins slip through the gut wall and reach the liver in the first place. For a liver that is already overworked, reducing the incoming toxin load is as valuable as increasing its processing capacity. For preparation, crush or finely chop the garlic and allow it to rest for 10 full minutes before any heat is applied. This waiting period allows the allanase enzyme reaction to complete fully. Heat applied to an uncrushed or freshly cut clove deactivates the enzyme before allicin can form, which means you get the flavor but lose the therapeutic compound. 10 minutes of patience transforms an ordinary ingredient into something genuinely medicinal. Dandelion greens, the forgotten liver tonic. Most people pull dandelion plants out of the ground and throw them away. That reflex may be worth reconsidering. Dandelion greens have been used in traditional medicine across European and Asian cultures for centuries, specifically for liver and gallbladder support, and modern research has begun to validate what those traditions observed empirically. The key active compounds are taraxacin and taraxacerin, bitter sesquiterpene lactones concentrated in the leaves, along with a significant load of chichoric acid, a polyphenol that inhibits an enzyme called fatty acid synthase, which is directly responsible for the overproduction of fat inside liver cells in fatty liver disease. By slowing that enzyme down, dandelion greens interrupt one of the core mechanisms driving the disease forward. What most people don't know is that dandelion greens are also a natural cholagogue, meaning they stimulate bile production and flow. Bile is the liver's primary excretion vehicle. When bile production is sluggish, toxins and metabolic waste products that should be leaving the body via the digestive tract begin to recirculate instead. Increased bile flow is essentially the liver taking out its own trash more efficiently. Eat dandelion greens raw in small amounts as a bitter addition to a salad, or lightly saute them in olive oil with garlic for 2 to 3 minutes. The bitterness, which most people instinctively try to cook away, is precisely where the therapeutic compounds are concentrated. Pairing them with a fat like olive oil significantly improves absorption of their fat-soluble active compounds. Broccoli sprouts, the detox pathway activator. Most people overlook broccoli sprouts entirely, reaching instead for mature broccoli. And while mature broccoli is genuinely beneficial, it contains only a fraction of the therapeutic compound that makes sprouts remarkable. 3-day-old broccoli sprouts contain between 50 and 100 times more sulforaphane than the fully grown vegetable. Sulforaphane is one of the most studied compounds in nutritional medicine, and its specific relevance to liver health is this. It is the most potent known activator of the NRF2 pathway, the liver's master antioxidant and detoxification switch. When sulforaphane activates NRF2, the liver upregulates production of its own glutathione, its own protective enzymes, and its own anti-inflammatory signals. The liver is not just receiving outside help, it is being instructed to help itself more effectively. Now, clinical trials have shown measurable reductions in liver enzyme levels, liver fat content, and oxidative stress markers in patients with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease who consumed broccoli sprouts regularly over 8 to 12 weeks. These are not theoretical benefits, they show up in blood work. Eat broccoli sprouts raw. Sulforaphane is significantly degraded by heat above 70 degrees Celsius. A brief chew activates the myrosinase enzyme that generates sulforaphane from its precursor compound glucoraphanin. Add them to salads, sandwiches, or eat them as a small side portion alongside a cooked meal. 2 to 3 tablespoons daily is sufficient to achieve a measurable therapeutic dose. Then this next section is one I want you to pay very close attention to, because the 3 vegetables we're about to discuss are not fringe foods. They appear in mainstream health content, in smoothie recipes, in detox plans specifically promoted for liver health. In people with healthy, fully functioning livers, they may cause no harm at all. But in someone whose liver is already inflamed, already accumulating fat, already operating with impaired detoxification capacity, they carry genuine risks that most people never hear about. Sweet corn on the fructose delivery system. Sweet corn is a staple of summer cooking and is widely regarded as a wholesome natural food. Nutritionists frequently list it as a source of fiber, B vitamins, and antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin, and in that context, the praise is not entirely undeserved. But for someone with fatty liver disease or elevated liver enzymes, sweet corn represents a meaningful and underappreciated metabolic threat, and the danger is not immediately obvious from its reputation. Modern sweet corn varieties have been selectively bred over decades for dramatically higher sugar content than their ancestors. A single ear of sweet corn can contain 6 to 9 grams of sugar, a significant portion of which is fructose. As we discussed earlier, a compromised liver cannot metabolize fructose efficiently. It converts it into fat instead. Each serving of sweet corn is essentially a fructose delivery mechanism arriving directly at an organ that is already overwhelmed by fat accumulation. The very process the liver is struggling to control is being fed more raw material with every serving. The problem compounds when we consider that corn derivatives, high fructose corn syrup, cornstarch, corn-based sweeteners, are present in an enormous percentage of processed and packaged foods. Someone eating fresh sweet corn may simultaneously be consuming these derivatives in sauces, condiments, and packaged snacks without awareness. The cumulative fructose load on a compromised liver across a single day can be substantial. This is not about avoiding corn forever. It is about understanding that for a liver under stress, there is no such thing as a harmless extra sugar load. If you enjoy corn, limit it to small portions, no more than half an ear, and eat it alongside protein and fiber, which slow digestion and blunt the rate of sugar absorption. Avoid all products listing high fructose corn syrup in their ingredients and treat that ingredient as you would any known liver stressor. Alfalfa sprouts, the hidden hormonal burden. Alfalfa sprouts have a devoted following in the health food community. They appear in health focused sandwiches and salads, are promoted for their nutrient density, and are frequently recommended in detox and cleanse protocols, sometimes specifically for liver support. That last claim is where the danger lies for people with existing liver impairment. Alfalfa sprouts contain high concentrations of phytoestrogens, particularly a class called isoflavones, and also contain a compound called cannavanine, a non-protein amino acid that mimics the amino acid arginine and can disrupt normal protein metabolism. In a healthy liver with fully functional phase 2 detoxification pathways, these compounds are processed, conjugated, and excreted without accumulating to harmful levels. But in a liver where those pathways are already impaired, cannavanine and concentrated phytoestrogens are not efficiently neutralized. They recirculate. Cannavanine, in particular, has been shown in research to interfere with normal cellular protein synthesis, contributing to oxidative stress in hepatic tissue. The deeper irony is that alfalfa sprouts are frequently included in liver cleanse protocols, which means people with compromised liver function are sometimes deliberately increasing their intake precisely when their liver is least equipped to handle these compounds. The wellness framing creates a false sense of safety. For someone with healthy liver function, alfalfa sprouts may be genuinely fine in moderate amounts. For someone whose liver is already under stress, that context matters completely. Replace alfalfa sprouts with broccoli sprouts or mung bean sprouts, both of which provide comparable texture and nutritional variety without the hepatotoxic compound burden. Raw kale in large quantities, tao when superfood becomes overload. Kale has earned perhaps the most powerful health reputation of any vegetable in modern nutrition culture. It appears in virtually every list of superfoods, in green smoothies, in meal prep guides, and in dietary advice for nearly every chronic condition. For someone with a healthy liver and thyroid, kale consumed in moderate amounts is genuinely nutritious. But two specific mechanisms make large, frequent servings of raw kale problematic for people with liver disease, and both are almost never discussed. The first involves oxalates. Kale contains significant oxalic acid, which binds to minerals in the digestive tract and in a liver already struggling with metabolic dysregulation, can contribute to oxalate crystal accumulation that adds to systemic oxidative stress. This is a smaller concern than the second mechanism, but worth understanding. The larger issue involves glucosinolates and their breakdown products. Raw kale is rich in compounds called glucosinolates, which, when consumed raw and in large quantities, break down into isothiocyanates and nitriles. In a healthy liver, these compounds activate beneficial detoxification pathways at moderate doses. But at high doses, the kind delivered by daily large raw kale smoothies, the same compounds can paradoxically suppress liver enzyme activity and interfere with normal thyroid hormone production by blocking iodine uptake. A liver already managing inflammation and impaired enzyme function does not benefit from additional enzyme suppression. The solution here is not elimination, it is moderation and preparation. Lightly steaming kale for 4 to 5 minutes deactivates a significant portion of the raw glucosinolate compounds while preserving its beneficial fiber, vitamin K, and mineral content. Limit raw kale to small quantities, a handful, not a full blender, and rotate it with lower oxalate greens like romaine lettuce, butter lettuce, and the dandelion greens we discussed earlier. Before we close, I want to give you 3 principles that go beyond any specific food list. Principles that shape the broader philosophy of protecting liver function through daily choices. Principle 1. The liver's greatest enemy is cumulative load, not single incidents. No single meal destroys a liver. What damages it is the steady, daily accumulation of small insults, excess fructose, processed fats, hepatotoxic compounds arriving without pause. The liver has extraordinary regenerative capacity when given the chance to use it. Your goal is not perfection, it is reducing the daily total burden consistently enough that repair can outpace damage. Track patterns, not individual meals. Principle 2, bitterness is the liver's language. Bitter compounds, the ones in dandelion greens, radicchio, endive, and artichoke, are among the most consistent activators of bile production and liver detoxification pathways in the entire plant kingdom. Modern food culture has systematically bred bitterness out of vegetables in favor of sweetness, and liver health has suffered for it. Deliberately reintroduce bitterness into at least one meal per day. Your liver will recognize it as a signal it has been waiting for. Principle 3. The gut and liver are one system, not two. Every toxin that passes through a leaky gut wall arrives at the liver first. Every time you support gut barrier integrity through fermented foods, prebiotic fiber, adequate hydration, you are simultaneously reducing the filtration burden on your liver. Think of gut health and liver health as inseparable. Improving one is always improving the other. I want to be clear about something before we finish. Everything shared today is grounded in established nutritional science and is offered as education, as context that I believe you deserve to have. It is not a substitute for the personalized medical care that your specific situation requires. Fatty liver disease exists on a spectrum, and the dietary approach appropriate for someone with early stage steatosis is different from someone managing active inflammation or early fibrosis. Please work with your physician and, wherever possible, a registered dietitian who specializes in hepatic nutrition. Your lab values, that is, your ALT, AST, GGT, and imaging results, tell a story that no general guidance can fully account for. What I want to leave you with is this, protecting your liver is not about fear, and it is not about the long list of things you can no longer enjoy. It is about becoming intentional. It is about understanding that garlic, dandelion greens, and broccoli sprouts are not just food. They are instructions your liver knows how to follow, and understanding that sweet corn in excess, alfalfa sprouts in a compromised system, and large daily portions of raw kale are not punishments to avoid, they are simply choices that do not serve the organ working hardest on your behalf. Small, consistent decisions made with knowledge and genuine care compound over time. They change how your liver ages. They change how you feel when you wake up in the morning. They shape the quality and the independence of the years ahead. That is why I do this work, and that is why I am grateful you stayed with me today. Take good care of yourselves.